WECT, first at 4.
And this news just into the WECT newsroom. A jury has found a woman guilty of killing her mother. District Attorney John David saying today the jury convicted Julia Copenhaver of first-degree murder for the killing of her mother, Susan. Investigators found Susan stabbed more than 90 times at her home in Oak Island back in 2018. Investigators say Julia opened the door covered in her mother's blood when they arrived. It took the jury less than an hour to convict her. Copenhaver will spend the rest of her life in prison.